For more on Musk's legal challenges, let's welcome Jeff Sonnenfeld. He's the Yale School of Management's Senior Associate Dean for Leadership Studies. He's president of Yale's Chief Executive Leadership Institute, also a CNBC contributor. And Jeff, what do you think?
Well, Becky, I think after that fabulous discussion that the four of you just had, you might wonder what more is there to add. And there are some nuances. Jane wondered why they were dropping the emails. Well, they're dropping the emails to narrow the defamation suit just on the tweets, as I understand it, because the emails were labeled off the record, confidential, so that his intention on the emails weren't so clear to have a mass publicity the way he clearly wanted to publish these tweets, because he did so. And that's that nuance. Tom asked a really good question. What's the impact on the company? Hi, Tom, by the way. And I think that is compelling. It's a distraction, as you point out, a master of distraction. But it also just shows another one of these boards that has fear of founder issues, whether or not we're looking at Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, or, of course, looking at the problems with Adam Newman and WeWorks, or Jack Dorsey is going off on some strange adventure to Africa that makes a lot of sense for somebody else in the company to do, but to disappear for 6 months to leave both Twitter and Square as the CEO of two companies. We have boards that seem unable to direct genius founders. And in this case, until this past several months, where Musk seems to have cleaned up his act, we had a fairly reckless person out of control. And that's the significance, Tom, is how does a board kind of rein in these Twitter tantrums?
Jeff, great to see you again. I had a question about that exact kind of meltdown that Elon had around about a year and a half ago. There was the whole funding secured 420. There was a board that was a bit lame, quite frankly. Has the company made improvements in its governance in the past year and a half from your perspective?
Yeah, it seems that he was making mockery of the initial SEC settlement, which, amazing, this was happening at the same time as that 420 stock dangling, which seemed not to be based on any facts in terms of the private placement. As that melted down, it was the same time that Musk was coming out with these nonsensical attacks on Pedo Man. And you're wondering, Joe, what else could be a derivation of pedo. One of the producers here, Jessica, suggested that maybe he was talking about pedestrian and maybe somebody who just walks around a lot.
You're in a whole different area of perversion with the foot. So I don't, we don't need to, right? I mean, they don't need to, that doesn't help. That doesn't help.
I don't even understand that. What are you talking about?
Hey, Jeff, you know what I was also thinking of, Jeff? You remember the good old days? You remember the Nixon tapes, and we had epithet deleted? Why do we know everything that everyone's thinking? Why do they put it on Twitter? I mean, we used to have some decorum, didn't we? The social media.
This is one guy who really should have hired Rosemary Woods to delete some things for him.
To delete some things.
He was having a meltdown.
Twitter is so, it's like nitroglycerin. You know what I mean? You gotta, when you see it, you just don't put
crazy.
Things on it.
It's self-imposed. He was having a tantrum. He could have gotten himself out of this, and it's a completely unforced errors. And instead of coming up with a settlement, as we know, is the best settlements usually are in the courthouse steps. So maybe something will happen before midday today. But surely this didn't have to happen. It's foolish. It's a tantrum. And we had a heroic story. It was 18 days to rescue these poor kids, these 12 stranded soccer players and their coach. And that's what should have been celebrated, instead distracting the attention onto this. And here we have this successful launch, or at least the dangling of the prospective launch of the Cybertruck, with 250,000 folks putting $100 down, fully refundable, to buy. And we've seen that some successes out there with that have surprised people with a profitable last quarter. Why distract with this kind of nonsense that he gets into?